Four-year-old Lu Jihao from the Guangdong province of China has been called the world's fattest kid. Ever since he could first toddle around, his parents have had a tough time keeping him from eating anything he can get his hands on. At only 4 years old and 3.5 feet tall, he weighs an astounding 137 pounds, as much as many full-grown adults. Doctors say that his condition will easily become life-threatening by the age of 20 if he does not slow down, but efforts to put him on diet seem to only result in frustration. His parents and caretakers have cut him back from 3 bowls of rice per meal to only 1, but he's known to beg food off of classmates and even steal it when they won't cooperate. Lu's parents are both of normal height and weight, and there's not even a history of obesity in their family. Lu's appetite simply knows no bounds. A weight loss center in Hong Kong has offered to help the family by using a Japanese technology to break down all of the excess fat free of charge, but even this could be an uphill climb. Chinese teenager Fu Wengi started preparing in late 2016 for a surgery later this year that could change his life. At the age of 6, he was diagnosed with congenital scoliosis and an abnormal chest cavity, and during further examination, doctors discovered an unusual feature in the boy's neck, or rather 3 unusual features. While most people have 7 vertebrae in their neck, Fu has 10, giving him an extremely long neck, to put it mildly. He's endured teasing and bullying all of his life from classmates and peers, and as if that weren't enough, the extra vertebrae give him severe pain and issues with mobility. He's understandably had behavior problems and difficulty socializing, but doctors are hopeful that they can pull off the risky procedure to remove the extra vertebrae and give Fu the closest thing they can to a normal-looking and functional neck. When Richard Sandrak was a young boy, he briefly rose to fame as Little Hercules, and just one look at his startling physique is enough to tell you why. The son of a Ukrainian champion martial artist, Richard began training at an early age in Taekwondo and weight training, which began with lighter exercises as a toddler but progressed quickly to doing reps on full-size benches and squat racks. By the time he was 6 years old, he was bench pressing 180 pounds, and by 8 he maxed out at 210. Richard was still working out hard and laying claim to the title of the world's strongest boy in 2007 at the age of 15. But that year, his father Pavel was briefly imprisoned after a physical altercation with Richard's mother. He lost interest in working out not long after, and today looks pretty much like your average 24-year-old. But he spent his childhood as Little Hercules, and he'll always have the 2009 Hollywood feature film of the same name, starring him, to prove it. This amazing boy endured a condition all of his life that very few people on Earth ever have. Deepak Kumar Paswan was born with an underdeveloped, malformed, parasitic twin sticking out of his body, looking as if it had been jammed into his chest head first. Born in one of the least developed parts of India, the young boy was venerated as a god, an incarnation of the multi-limbed Hindu god Vishnu to be exact, by the people in his village. This was just a little bit uncomfortable for his parents, and they were eventually able to find surgeons who would be willing to attempt the incredibly dangerous procedure of removing the twin. After months of consultation with a team of 15 doctors, the surgery was performed successfully in 2010. Although doctors feared complications with the boy's intestines, he was declared 100% fit after healing from the surgery, and he's looking forward to living a normal and unassuming life among mortals. In 2012, a video went viral on YouTube that many assumed to be a fake. It featured 5-year-old Andy Lee, called Sung Sung by his family, nailing a flawless rendition of the notoriously difficult Flight of the Bumblebee on the family piano. The video racked up 2 million views, but many viewers challenged him in the comments to prove it. So not long after, the little boy did, for an audience of millions on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Despite appearing a bit less smiley and lighthearted than he had in his viral video, and being dressed in a tuxedo that couldn't have been too comfortable, Sung Sung tuned in a perfect performance before throwing his hands up in victory like an Olympic gymnast. Now 10 years old, Andy regularly uploads videos to his YouTube channel, and while he still crushes it on the piano, he's got a few other interests these days. He's also taken up the guitar and table tennis. In 2004, Milagros Celon was born in Peru with an extremely rare condition. Her entire lower body was fused together above the ankle, and she had no external genitalia, meaning her parents had to wait weeks to even find out what her sex was. The condition is called serenomelia, and it's almost always life-threatening. Severe organ damage and kidney problems usually result, and the little girl known as the Peruvian mermaid would need risky and difficult surgery if she was to have any chance of surviving for long. At the age of 6, she underwent 5 of these surgeries in 1 year, with the first one separating her legs and enabling her to finally start learning to walk. By 2015, the 11-year-old had undergone a total of 13 surgeries, beating the odds by avoiding any major complications. She will need an additional 3 or 4, but those will have to wait until she's 18. A Chinese boy named An Qi was born with a small birthmark on his face. It was a tiny patch of hair, which is nothing out of the ordinary, except that as he grew, so did the birthmark, and by the time Qi was 8 years old, it had completely covered the entire right side of his face in thick, dark hair. The little boy hadn't exactly had it easy to begin with. His father died when he was 4, and his mother has epilepsy and struggles with mental illness, leaving the responsibility of raising him to his grandparents. As you might imagine, he has struggled in school and has needed the regular help of a psychiatrist to come to terms with his condition. Some medical facilities have come forward with offers to help with the cost of the plastic surgery, but so far there's been no news on whether Qi's family has decided to accept any of these offers. Born in India, Mohammed Kaleem was born with a rare form of gigantism, a condition that causes abnormal growth. In Mohammed's case, the effects of the disease are centered entirely on his hands, which began swelling to monstrous proportions when the boy was only a toddler. Unfortunately, neighbors in Mohammed's poor village believe this to be the result of misdeeds by his parents, and the boy was labeled a devil child and made an outcast. The 8-year-old boy's hands reached a maximum weight of 28 pounds, keeping him from doing even the simplest chores for himself and leaving him totally dependent on others. Fortunately, there may be a light at the end of the tunnel for the poor kid. A surgery on his right hand removed 50% of the excess fluid and tissue, and also the growth plates in the arm, making sure it won't continue to grow. The boy's family hoped to schedule an additional surgery for the left hand, and eventually to get both hands down to a more manageable size. In 2013, a 5-year-old girl in the UK gained media attention as the world's smallest girl. Charlotte Garside suffers from a condition known as primordial dwarfism, and at 5 years old, she didn't look like a baby. She looked like a tiny doll. Charlotte weighed only 2 pounds at birth, and by the age of 5 only weighed 9, as much as a normal newborn baby, and stood just over 2 feet tall. Children with this condition differ from those with regular dwarfism in that their limbs are in proportion to the rest of their bodies, giving them their doll-like appearance. In 2016, at 8 years old, Charlotte had the opportunity to be a part of a conference in Liverpool that brought together children with primordial dwarfism from all over the world and meet other kids with similar struggles for the first time. Even though they came from as far as Australia, Russia, and Canada, only 35 kids came to the conference, so rare is their condition. In 2006, a baby was born with a condition that absolutely nobody could be expected to survive. Even so, it wasn't apparent right away. For her first 2 months, baby Alex Simpson would cry day and night, up to 20 hours a day, and her parents thought she was having problems with digestion. But the doctors offered a far more alarming diagnosis. Alex was born with hydranencephaly, which means that she quite literally has no brain. She does have a cerebellum, which means that she has basic motor function and is able to recognize family members. She also recognizes emotional cues and can respond accordingly, but she's missing over 90% of the brain matter of a normal human being, and her condition is ordinarily beyond grave. Most infants with it simply abort before birth, and of those that don't, virtually none make it to 6 months. But even though she's had a couple of close calls, Alex Simpson is still alive and as healthy as could be expected at 10 years old.